these technical difficulties are always seem to creep up. Regardless, it's my end this time. Like you just said, then it was when you was in Delhi, it was you. But yeah, so we were talking there briefly, take one before we had to go again. But you was talking about. I asked you what's it like to be back. Could you just go over that again for us so we can
Yeah,
piece it together? Because I think it's
so it
really
was just
interesting
weird.
point.
Like I've said before, all I can imagine, like anyone who's ever been in prison, is coming out and having reformed back to society. That's the best example I can give. It's so weird, like, waking up each day and doing the next leg of your journey and anything, you don't know what you're going to run into, what the weather's going to be like. You're seeing new places, meeting new people. You say you're going to get to a destination, but you spend so long admiring the view or speaking to locals, you just never, every single day is different. So then coming back to, like, just normal everyday life. Like just I'd always take quite a few days to get used to it. I'm still not used to it. I'm looking forward to 7 days getting off again and doing the next adventure.
So obviously you just come back off this massive adventure. We spoke
Yeah.
when you was in Delhi, and where did you go from Delhi?
So from
So
Delhi,
obviously some people might not have seen what you've been doing since then.
yeah.
So we could
So
go back to that.
Delhi was Thailand, Vietnam, and then the Philippines. But I did briefly come home for about 3 to 4 weeks after Thailand, sort some personal issues out.
So when you got to Thailand and you was almost in that last stretch of your journey, what was that like? Was that sort of getting back out there and finally being in touching distance? Getting to Vietnam. Was it a relief to be there and be that close?
It was, but every country that I went through, it was a great feeling knowing that I'm one step closer to my final goal. But it was also sad at the same time because I knew it was coming towards an
Mm.
end, especially when I landed in the Philippines. I could have made it to Wigan in a couple. I could have gone made it there. Could have made it Wigan in the Philippines from Manila in I don't know, in a couple of days if I wanted to. But I wanted to go, make sure I spent a good 20 plus days there and enjoy myself. So I rented a scooter and went the long way around, went past my points by about, I don't know, 300-400 miles and just followed the coastline all the way around. Great experience. Some of the best beaches I've ever seen in my life.
That's amazing for sort of like, I always think it's mad. I must think that people do these sort of things and whenever they get the opportunity, they want to, get it done with as soon as. So the way you did it, where you sort of soaked everything up through it, took every opportunity, like it's so impressive the time that it took and also how much you drained of that for make it a lifelong experience. What was Wigan like in comparison to Wigan at all?
So, so when I first got there, all I first saw was a sign saying "Welcome to Wigan" in Cardiff, and I was like, "Bloody hell!" Like this is the start of the end, basically. And
Mm.
and where it was, because it was that strictly, it was in the provinces, and they spoke a different language there from the normal Filipino language, and the English was very, very limited. So rather than, because nobody can understand what I'm saying, and even if they could, the accent was, people just shaking their heads like I'm some alien. Suppose I'm an alien to them, and like, they were looking at me and pointing, saying like, because I think white people hardly ever go around there, mate. There was nothing but rice fields, um, you know, very limited, no internet data, nothing like that. Right out in the state. And as a population, I'd say guesstimating maximum 350, something like that. A couple of business, they had like a fire station slash ambulance station slash police station, and that's some little government council building. They had a basketball court there, disused petrol station, a school. I'm guessing. I think it was like some little medical centre as well. And so yeah, so to speak to people there, the pitch, what I found on the internet of saying, "We love Wigan," Port, which was my final point, which I spotted back in September last year. I loaded it up on my phone. I kept going like this and pointing to my phone. And be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, 2 kilometres this way," because no one understood a word what I was saying. So I finally found it through asking probably 3, 4, 5 different people. which direction do we need?
I mean, to sort of go into that way of life and see that as your end goal, was it humbling? Because I imagine you've obviously been in places, you went to Delhi, you went to Thailand, and although it's a different culture and sort of a different experience, that just sounds like a completely different way of life. It almost seems, archaic, maybe, to see that, all the technology we have back here.
It's just, I don't, like I said, their income there is coconuts and rice fields, coconut trees and rice fields. I'm not saying people don't have jobs, but like I say, it's just miles away from anywhere. I think closest city, Santiago City, was probably about, I don't know, an hour's drive, something like that away. But when you talk about remote, it is remote. It's like the best place I can put it is like living in the islands in Scotland. That's what it was like.
Yeah. So you've mentioned earlier, you've alluded to 7 days back in Wigan, England, and then off to the next adventure. Yeah. So what does that look like?
So next one is set up on the 10th. Hello, Mum, you all right? Yeah. Mums. So set up on the 10th, and I'm doing Adrian's Wall. So it's doing, bonus on Solby, start going west to east. So it's starting just slightly west of Carlisle and working my way through Newcastle, and then I can't remember the endpoint what it's called, but basically Newcastle. It's what, 73, Adrian's Wall 73 mile or 84 on the path. So I'm looking at, 10 mile a day. So it should take me about 8 to 10 days. So here we go. I'm just going to take my time. I'm not going to rush it. Just enjoy myself, camp out every night, and hope for the weather.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the weather might be slightly different on Adrian's Wall than it will be in Vietnam.
Definitely.
So now you're back. You mentioned though, you're still adjusting, integrating back into everything that is, going on in the normal world. How's it been to have Andy's Man Club back on your doorstep again?
Good. I went down there on Monday. It was a weird feeling going back, because I didn't, last time I was at home, I never went, because they don't operate on bank holiday Mondays, and I was here 3 weeks. One of them I didn't bother, the other 2 were bank holiday Mondays. And it was just weird going back. I remember the very first time I ever went, and I was nervous about going, and that was like, what, a year and a half ago, something like that. And I had that same gut feeling, but the welcome when I got off everybody was just like, big hugs, handshakes. It was like seeing mates who I've not seen for a year. And, there was welcoming back, and everybody was saying like, it's crazy what you've done, and I've come to know it, and well, congratulations. It was absolutely amazing feeling, and it makes you feel proud, you know what I mean? And there was like 50 blokes or what have you, and there was a round of applause and that, and it was just really nice. But it was also lovely to be back in seeing everybody at Andy's Man Club, the reason that I've set out to do this in the first place. Because if it worked for them, I don't know where I would have been in my life at this time. I might not have even been here taking this phone call with you, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I imagine it sort of has gone full circle for you now, hasn't it? You started at that point, like I said, that first meeting, and now you've gone back after doing this amazing journey. And what were them conversations like? You mentioned there people saying they could never do it. What was your response to that? Because I reckon, when you started at Andy's Man Club that first time, if someone would have done that, you probably would have had that mindset to be like, oh, I could never do that.
Yeah, I did. Well, I remember the first ever video that I did, mate, in Parish Church in Wigan, in Church Garden there, and I was like, can I do this? I don't know, but I am going to do. Same with my parents when I got back, and they was like, do you remember a year ago when you first set out and you mentioned it, and and there was like trying to say, don't do it, just stay where you were, stay put, you're not going to have an home. You're going to be selling all your stuff. You're going to have nothing. What you're going to do when you come back? And the more I talked to them, the more they was up for it. And same at Andy's Man Club, I think people had their doubts, and I had my doubts. But at the end of the day, we've done it, completed it. And it's an amazing feeling. And all I can say that anybody who thinks that they can't achieve something in life, then, you doubt yourself. But believe me, if you put your heart to it, and you've got the support around you, like Andy's Man Club, and your family and your friends, then anything is accomplished.
Yeah, and I love that. And I can only imagine what we spoke about it briefly last time when you was about halfway through your journey, but now you've completed it. I only imagine it sort of solidifies these things. But what is it you've learned about yourself across this journey?
Um, the biggest thing what I've done is find myself again, the person that I was, um, the person that I became, when I was drinking heavily and just locking myself down, uh, not communicating with anybody at all, turning my phone off, just I was either getting drunk or going to sleep, and I was only getting drunk to make myself sleep because I just didn't want to be around. And if I found that person again that I was. Um, and there is help out there, but you've got to go and seek that help. I know people deal with stuff in different ways, and Andy's man club ain't for everybody, but for me, that was my grasp on life, and to get myself back to where the person that I knew and my family knows and my mates.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Honestly, it's such an inspiring story. And I'm not just saying that because you're here, but obviously I clocked onto it pretty early doors when I first seen it, and then followed it
Yeah,
all the way. And I'm excited to see what you do next. I know Adrian's Wall is one thing, but I can imagine you've got more in the pipeline.
mate, I have. So, do you want me to go in and explain them?
I'd love to hear
Yeah,
what you've got in the work.
So after Adrian Wall is a pretty easy wall. There's no real uphills or nothing like that, struggles to it. It's more flat all the way. There is, nothing serious wall. So I had an operation. I broke my leg like about 5, 6 years ago. And when I was walking through Italy, I struggled. But I had a lot of weight in me. I had like 4 stone in my packs, 25 kilos. So I'm not taking as much this time, but that walk will show whether this leg can handle long walks with not so much weight. Anyway, if that's the case, after Adrian's Wall, I'm going to go and see my sister who I've not seen for a year, for a couple of weeks. And then I'm going to head up to John O'Groats and do John O'Groats to Land's End.
Wow,
So Norfolk Country
I'll
to,
take some time.
you know John O'Groats to Land's End, don't you? I don't need to explain.
Yeah,
So if I'm capable of doing that, then yeah. And then also, which, like I said, I don't know if you remember, there is another Wigan in the world called Wigan in Yukon province in Canada.
I remember you mentioning it last time.
So when I said there were 3, it has been, there's nothing set in stone yet, and this could be a couple of years off, 3 years off, I don't know. But it has been mentioned that possibly some, so start in England, and obviously it's easy to get a boat or a plane over to Canada, it's easy. So go the long way around. So go from, go east, all the way through all the way through Eastern Europe, through Kazakhstan, Mongolia, China, all that rubbish, and not rubbish, all them countries, and then America, Alaska, wherever, and then I don't know yet. I've not even thought about it proper, but it could be on the card.
And is that a big thing for you now having these goals set, almost having something to look forward to and hold yourself accountable to?
You cut off a bit, mate. So
Or just saying that is these something that having these goals and these ideas, what's keeping you almost accountable to yourself and accountable to others? It's something that's inspiring you and being like, got to get through this one, then it's this one, and then because you mentioned last time we was on about not really having that direction. Is this now what's giving you that sort of sense of direction?
Just how can I describe it? Basically, just coming up with a different idea as one's ending. Because I never want it to end at this moment in time. I'm enjoying myself. It's helping me mental health being out there. So there's 2 reasons. First of all, we've raised 968 quid, and I've run this man club fundraiser, and I've said I won't stop till I get to 2.5k, which I want. That's what I want to raise. But then, secondly, most importantly, is for me, it's keeping my I'm not going back to old ways. There's no reason I'm looking forward to some all the time. It's keeping my mind active and my body active as well. I've got, I'm looking after myself. Mentally wise, I've been the best I have been in since the last time I can remember, mate. And I've just changed my life around. And by doing this and giving myself another goal, I don't know. At this moment in time, that's like my drug of addiction, where it's keeping me going on that front.
Yeah, and you mentioned there about, you know, mentally being in a good place, but also trying to be physically in a good place. And I imagine that there was a lot of physical elements to that challenge and that journey you did. You know, all the walking you did. You mentioned there about carrying a 25 kilo pack on your back. So how was that change? You know, because I imagine before you went, you wasn't really doing a lot of activity. You wasn't
No,
doing a lot of
not at all.
exercise, and going to that, you know, that fire, feet first.
Yeah, just you know, it builds your strength up and also builds your confidence up as well, and your mental well-being. But yeah, you know, there's been. I remember when I walked it from Pisa to Rome, and I couldn't complete it. I think I did about 150 kilometres, and it was 300 kilometres, but just too much weight. But then that was in Italy. But then compared to now, how fit I am now compared to then, uh, when I first started, because I wasn't doing anything for ages, you know, my body feels a whole lot better than what it was. So I'm also, by doing this physically, I'm looking at my body as well. You know, I'm eating constant meals because my body needs the energy. Because like beforehand, before I set off doing this, I weren't eating. I weren't eating for weeks on end. You know, um, and then I don't all just like fit like things I'd never thought I'd be capable. Like on the last day, the day before the last, so I had 2 days to go, and I wanted to spend one night in Wigan in the Philippines, and the bloody scooter broke down. So on the last day, I had a 10.5 hour drive, but obviously on a 125cc scooter, it's not going national speed limit. So maximum you can get out of that is about 62 miles an hour. Or I had to, so on there you're talking 12 hours. So with petrol stops, and then obviously stopping for have something to eat, I was driving for about, I don't know, 12, 13 hours. And God knows how many kilometres are covered. But when it's tropical storms over there, and then it's night time at 6:30, and there's no light, that was probably the worst. The last day was also the worst day. But, you know, I don't,
The most
yeah. Well, imagine driving.
close to the ball.
Imagine driving for 13 hours. It's, you know, that is up here, mate. It takes some doing, but we made it because I had to catch my flight. So
Especially with the roads and stuff
yeah,
over
yeah, I had my flight booked and I didn't want to miss it. So it all ended well anyway. So it's all good.
So you took the flight, you got home. Something that I'm so interested to know is what was the first thing you ate when you got back?
Have a guess.
I'm gonna have a guess it's pie related.
Yes, mate. Straight. So I went when I got off. I went first thing I did was walk to churchyard because I wanted to do a last ever video on that series on the same place that I started, and then I would go to Galloway's, and I thought, you know what, I'm just want to get up. So I did a quick video, jumped up bus, and when I get in, one of the mates had a pie for me ready. I didn't eat. It was only because the day before I mentioned it, and yeah, there was one in there sat waiting for me, nice and warm.
I mean, you come back to the weather being half okay, really.
Yeah,
It
not
wasn't
bad.
too much of a
Not bad.
change.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lose
Yeah.
not gonna lose a tan that quick, pal. Not yet. And
No, especially if you get a bit of weather like this over at Adrian's Wall,
yeah.
I reckon
Do you know
you'll
what?
be out there.
If it's like today and yesterday, then it won't bother me. Like it's just when it starts throwing it down, you're packing up your tent, it rain. You know what I mean? It's not much.
Yeah. So is that the plan? Camping every night
Yeah, mate.
in your tent?
Camp every night, and then camp every night. Because you know what? When people say, "Well, what about having a washing? What about washing your clothes?" When I was in Philippines, this is the first thing. I've not. So I left on. I left on. When did I come back? My flight. My flight was on the 20. Was it 23rd, 24th, 24th? My flight. And then not the last time I'd washed my stuff. It was the 7th of June. So and they had 3 t-shirts and 2 pairs of shorts, 5 pairs of socks. So you can imagine in 17 days how bad I was showering, but my clothes you could guess how they were smelling, mate. They were stood up on the road. Put it that way.
Could have got back to England without the plane.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. Though. I just thought, do you know what? Each day, if I wash them each day, straight away to jump back on back. They're just getting, you know, because the roads are dusted. They're not like over either roads. They're completely different. And you know,
Yeah.
just work with it. So we'll just carry.
So if you had to pick three places that you could go back to, top three
Okay.
out of everywhere you went during your journey, we'll start from number three and work back up to one.
Okay. Um, so third would probably be Italy. Uh, more for just some of the historic sites when I saw like the Colosseum. Seeing that for the first time is like wow.
Mm.
And then this is because India was always my favourite, but then I'm second. I'm going to see India just because how big it is, and there's so much more I want to see of it. You could spend 10 years travelling around that country and still never see everything. But you go from the south, those beautiful beaches, to the north, to the hustle and bustle of bloody Delhi and Mumbai. It's crazy, but I love that craziness. I had my best days there in Hawley. That was the best day of all, the 180 days of travel. But for me, number one has got to be Vietnam. I never knew much about Vietnam apart from obvious things with including America. But yeah, when I went there, it just opened my eyes to a completely different. Never thought anything of the country. And wow, what a country! Definitely 100% recommend it to anyone. But if I had to say my best time ever, my mum's here, so I've got to say this is second will be meeting my mum in Greece when she came out to us. I know it should probably be number one.
Yeah.
She's looking at me now. But number one would be when I met my German friend Bastian. We travelled with each other for like 23 days in Sri Lanka and India until I had to go back home. But yeah, that was probably my best, my top three and my best two times.
I love that. I love that, and it's a good insight for people who are, considering going, because that part of the world now is quite popular, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
So within them three, just to dissect it a bit more, where was your favourite place in Italy?
My favourite place in Italy was probably Rome.
Mm.
Rome's expensive. It weren't cheap at all. I remember one night I spent, I think, an hotel room when this was the cheapest I could find was €70, something like that, and that was the cheapest I could find. But it's just how it is. It's just like living in London. Tourist zones. Unless you
Yeah.
go right out into the outskirts, then you're not going to find cheap accommodation. That's why I end up camping because it's legal to camp round there. And as a foreigner, if the police pull me, they're just going to find me anyway. I found this big park right at its centre, and there was a load of lads from Africa camping there. I don't know whether they were homeless or seeking immigration or what. And I just went up to them and said, "Hey lads, can I camp with you?" They were like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." A bit wary at first, and so I thought, right. So I spent 3 nights camping with you, man, rather than paying €70 a night. So yeah, it was all
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
There was like 10, 15 tents there, waking up each morning. And obviously I took my stuff with me during the day, but my tent was just there. And I come back and they go, "Oh, hello, are you coming again?" "Yeah, yeah." They were fine. Really good lads. But you've just got to take that risk. Some people say, "Oh, I'd never do it." If you've been by that time, you've been through enough countries and met enough people to judge uh, if it's going to be okay or not. If you understand what
I imagine it's very reassuring for like humanity. I imagine like you came back and just felt very sort of reassured that there's a lot of good people and nice
Yeah,
people in the world who are willing to help you. Obviously, you've had incidents, when you was in Europe and things like that, but for the most part, it seems like you was welcomed
yeah,
with such like open arms.
yeah. For every one bad person, you get it. You even get it here, in London or wherever. If you're a foreigner coming in and you jump in a taxi because you don't know the area, they'll try and take you a long way or not run the meet. For everybody, it's the same in every other country abroad. But for every bad person that you meet, you're 1,000 good people. You know what I mean? And the majority just want to help you and get. Like I remember one guy in Greece when I went to this hostel and I booked in online and I just landed in Athens and I went down. I got off the coach and I was walking for about 50 minutes and I got there and I ring it doorbell, no one's answering, ringing up. And yeah, I'm ringing up and he was saying, no one's answering anyway. This guy grabbed me from behind. He was like, "Why you ring that doorbell? Why you ring that doorbell?" I said, "I'm booked in here. Show me booking, show me booking." So I shows him the booking on my phone. "Oh, okay, come in, come in." And I thought, "Do you know what? After what you've just done, and grabbed me from behind and having a go at me, I don't want to stay there." Anyway, I managed to avoid him and walk off, and I found this like bar, and I went in there, and I was a bit upset because I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was speaking to this guy, and he was like, "Oh," he said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'll just camp out round here." "Oh, no, you can't camp out round here." And there was no real cheap hotels, they were all expensive. And I said, "I'll camp, it's fine." And he was like, no, anyway, he ended up putting me up for the night. Do you know what I mean? Never knew me, didn't know who he was, and he had a bed in his business where he printed labels on clothes. And next thing going on, I've got a free bed for the night. It just shows you how many good people there. And this guy had known me for about an hour. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's class. It's again, even for just hearing second hand of these experiences that you had, it's very like heartwarming, heartfelt, and it's I assume it'll fill people with confidence who want to go traveling, and they have these misconceptions of certain parts of the world and certain people, and obviously, like you said, you do need to be cautious of these things, but you don't necessarily need to be like ruled by fear.
Yeah.
And I think you're a great example of that.
Yeah. So just keep your head on your shoulders and don't do anything daft and you're fine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to respect, I imagine, sort of respecting the culture and the environment.
Massive. Yeah, which I saw, in a lot of countries, like especially Thailand, there was a lot of Europeans there, and I just thought, no wonder you, buddy, give yourself a bad name. Like, do you know what I mean? They're treating it like Benidorm or what have you, but the police over there, mate, they do not mess about, I'll tell you.
No, I can imagine.
There's some place like Thailand. I thought Thailand were going to be completely different, but from what I saw of it, it's just, no disrespect to Thailand's, and they do. I'm sure we're not like outside of like Pattaya and Bangkok, it is completely different. But from what I saw, it was just like a Benidorm of Asia.
Yeah, it's just been like westernized slightly.
Massively. That's why when I went to Vietnam, it was like, wow, country 2 doors away, and it was just a completely different. I don't know, it was just surreal. Now I have a mate who lives in Thailand, and he's been there for 10 years, I think he said, and he just said like Vietnam will become the new Thailand, where people are going because it's so cheap. I got a room there for like 79p one night. Where else can you do that in the world? No.
That's insane.
And it had a pool and beachfront as well. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it.
Wow, yeah. Imagine if you got a 79p room in UK. You'd be in it with about 30 other people, and there'd be no windows and whatnot.
Yeah. Sharing a bed, mate. For that price.
Yeah, but mate, it's such an amazing thing, and I'm so glad you finally got it. I know how keen you was to get through it and finally do that, and I'm excited to see what you do next. Hopefully, when you can get that Land's End to John O'Groats, I think that'll be an impressive feat, and it'll be on a bit more home soil, some more creature comforts, I imagine, around the way for you. But it's like that. There's so many places in the UK that you've probably never seen that if you do that, and it'd probably be not the culture shock that you did from going across Asia and things like that, but I reckon there'd be as many new experiences just going across the country as there would anywhere else.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not the walk itself. I'm not going to be, I could take the easy way and just walk along roads and stuff, but that's not the plan. The plan is to go, over the hills, see the sight, get away, get back to nature and just see stuff, like you said, that I've never ever seen before. Looking forward to.
Well, I look forward to having you on again when you get through it, and chatting through it. And I appreciate your time. I can imagine you've been busy since being back, and good luck with Adrian's Wall. But yeah, I'll put all where people can find you in the description. But if you want to let them know what your socials are and things like that, feel free.
Yeah, I'll show you stuff as well, mate.
Well, yeah, but good to have you back in on home soil, and good to have a chat and catch up. But yeah, mate, you should be super proud of what you've done for all the great causes and these man clubs and everything like that. And I'm sure the next ones will be just as impressive as the last one.
Hopefully. See what happens there. But yeah, next time we meet up.